Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, Earthlings. Hope you're all having a lovely day. It's a nice, hot, sunny day here again in Spain. Right, today what I want to talk about is because I saw an article in the Daily Express about how it's ever getting firmer. Harry wants to buy a house in the UK because apparently there's been fallouts between, the lady that he married, let's put it that way, doesn't get on with a lot of his friends. So he wants a base. This is what the article says. I'll put a link in the article. Now, this brought me back. Oh, it's getting a bit dark here. Just adjust that. This brought me back to 2018, before they got married. Now, if you cast your minds back, they had a property that they were leasing, I believe, for a couple of years, I think in the Cotswolds, near David and Victoria Beckham and their family. Now, I remember this, and I remember thinking at the time, I wouldn't mind betting that's the last thing on earth that Meghan is going to want to do. I think I'd seen the engagement interview by then. I'm pretty sure, yes. And I thought, no, last thing, this girl just does not come across to me as a country girl. And lo and behold, not long after they'd moved into this very lovely property, I seem to recall them saying there were either drones or a helicopter who had suddenly discovered where they live. And so they had to go. Now, it occurred to me, who tipped the paparazzis off? I mean, the Beckhams are notoriously private. I know they've done their Netflix thing, but Victoria and David have raised a family. They've been together. They've both had careers for decades before they opened the doors to Netflix. And even then, it's very limited. I'm not sure. I don't really follow the Beckhams, but I'm not sure I ever recalled that they had security issues. I mean, they've been there for quite a while. They're quite happy. There's also some Soho place that I think that Meghan's familiar with. And aren't those Soho places like privacy? So I'm thinking, who called the paparazzi? Could it be to set up a scenario where Harry would go, oh, this is no good, this is intolerable, we can't be here, we will move perhaps to somewhere more towny, not so countrified? Because on reflection, I mean, that's what I thought at the time. But now we've seen all this year's developments over the years, and they have not moved really to somewhere that's middle of nowhere. Now, Montecito, it's not exactly Hollywood. That's if they live in that Montecito mansion at all. But it seems very much that Meghan is drawn to New York. She is drawn to Hollywood. I don't see her going out in the middle of the countryside. That's not a focus, not even in their own Netflix docuseries, where they sort of came across as really countrified, or she didn't come across as countrified. Now, I found some old articles, which I'm sure you've all seen before, but one was the Daily Mail that was talking about this estate and where Meghan and Harry were going to be while Frogmore was being done up. And it says, the picture of the estate shows the farmhouse and smaller cottage after renovation work was completed in 2011 and was published on a freely accessible and public document. Now, it's unusual that a newspaper feels the need to put a paragraph in like that. They're so terrified they might be sued just for getting a picture that's on the public domain and putting it out there and saying this is the house. So there was a kerfuffle, there was a lawsuit, and I remember there was always all shrouded mystery over the settlement because this is the other thing, there was security concerns, not with that property, with Frogmore. Now, they say about the property had been chosen by the Duke for himself and his wife. That's very telling. Harry chose it. Did he ask Meghan? Did he ask Meghan any more than he asked about the engagement ring? Because I always thought that engagement ring, that was a faux pas. I know it's a beautiful ring. It was two of Diana's diamonds, but did he ask Meghan before he gave it to her, you know, to choose a ring? I don't think so. I think he just gave it to her. That's very Harry. Now, I don't know about you guys. How many of you chose your engagement ring, or did you get engaged and then say, well, I'd like to go, and because you're going to wear it for a long time. I say you wear it for life, whereas me, my rings, a long story with my engagement rings. Oh my God. I've had several because Graham bought me one and the big stone actually fell out. I jumped off the back of the boat here and I heard this plink, plink, plop. Let's not talk about that. And then I've got my mother's engagement ring and wedding ring on my little finger. And my favourite is this one, which cost $1. It's from Tibet. I got it on one of those AliExpress. I got a bunch of them. Anyway, so he just presented her with the ring, and then she's adjusted the ring. You know, that's not what she wanted. It's not what she likes. It's not good enough. It's not good enough. So this makes it clear, because this is not in the Daily Mail. The property had been chosen by the Duke for himself and his wife, given the high level of privacy it afforded, given its position in a secluded area surrounded by private farmland, away from any areas to which photographers have access. The statement from Harbottle and Lewis reads. And this is when he went on and he complained. He said there was a low-level flying helicopter. Well, can you imagine? I doubt it. I would imagine the helicopter would... There are CAA regulations above, you know, you've got to be so many 100 feet above the tallest building and all that. But I mean, apart from that, I would imagine a Pat would have a zoom lens. And if a helicopter did come down too low, everything would be blown to shit. Remember, my daughter had to go to Gibraltar Airport to do a photo shoot, take pictures of a helicopter taking off, and she's so light, she got blown backwards. So there was a big kerfuffle, and I think it was Splash News that got sued for invading their privacy. But I mean, who was the pape? Who called the paps? Who said this is where the property is? That interests me. Not casting any aspersions. Now, Ken Wharf was quoted in the Daily Mail about Frogmore, and this is what it says. Meanwhile, the Duchess has commissioned huge renovations to their home at Frogmore Cottage, which sits in the grounds of Frogmore House and the larger Windsor estate. The main concern is security to protect them at the 19th century property, with sources claiming there is currently none at all. So this is Frogmore, right? So they're in the Cotswolds, in the middle of nowhere. They've got loads of land, presumably, around them. So they've got their privacy. And Frogmore is being described as having no security at all, which I find a bit odd. But anyway, the Grade 2 listed cottage is just 200 yards from the public accessible long walk, triggering major concerns about the couple's privacy. Why? 200 yards? I mean, can people see 200 yards? I can tell you from here, I mean, 200 yards. The length of this pontoon, I don't know, I'm guessing is about maybe 90 metres. 200 yards. Okay, I'll take their word for it. Former Royal Protection Officer Ken Wharf told the Mirror late last year the costs of the building and security arrangements could balloon to $5 million in the first year. There is no protection at Frogmore. There is no one living there. There are the costs of at least 2 or 3 private protection officers, and to make sure the estate is policed adequately by Thames Valley. There will have to be a major reviews of security surrounding the property exposed on all sides. So there was no security at Frogmore, which they're now desperate to move back to. You know, they dumped it. I know he allegedly paid the 2.4 million. They dumped it. Now they desperately want it back. But then there was no security at the Cotswolds. And it's interesting, the article today, that Harry, they quote Harry in his own book, Spare, which is true, where he says it was just another home that we were just passing through. I mean, how many different homes have Harry and Meghan had since they've been together? Well, they had Knockcott, then they had the Cotswolds, that's 2. Then they had Frogmore, that's 3. It wasn't a home, but then they went to stay in the Canadian property, didn't they? Then they went to Tyler Perry's. Now they've got the Montessori. So that's 6. That's 6 homes. Now, That may not sound that much, but I mean 6 homes in, what is it, 6 years, 5 years? I think that's a lot of homes to move from. And I am curious as to who tipped off the paparazzi about Meghan and Harry in the Cotswolds, especially as the Beckhams nearby don't seem to have had the same problem. I wonder if these thoughts are now occurring to Harry. You know, he takes a little bit longer with his catch-up, doesn't he? Could it be? I mean, he's been accusing people, family members. Weren't the Beckhams themselves at one point? Victoria was accused of leaking. All these people leak. At what point might Harry come to the conclusion that there is one common denominator between leaks? Thoughts, opinions below. Look forward to hearing your theories. I know what mine are. Thank you very much for listening.